You ever have that light bulb moment? A brilliant idea for an invention, a story, a brand, and you think, wow, this is it. But then the next thought hits you. How on earth could I protect this? Not just here, but everywhere. Well, that massive question is exactly what we're tackling today, all through the lens of the one organization built to answer it. Seriously, think about it. How do you protect an idea on a global scale? Imagine trying to file a patent or a trademark in almost 200 different countries, right? Each one with its own language, its own laws, its own crazy procedures. It would be a total nightmare. And that exact problem is why the World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, exists. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the origin story of this global idea guardian. Then, we'll dig into its core mission. After that, we get into the nitty-gritty of how it all actually works, see who's in charge, and finally, check out how it's training the next wave of innovators all around the world. All right, first up, let's jump in the time machine. Because to really get what WIPO's all about, you gotta understand where it came from. And believe me, its history goes back way further than you might think. So the story actually starts way back in the 19th century with two huge treaties. You had the Paris Convention, which was all about protecting industrial stuff, inventions, trademarks, that sort of thing. And then you had the Berne Convention for creative works, like books, music, and art. For decades, these super important agreements were just managed by a tiny little office in Switzerland. But the real turning point was in 1967 in Stockholm, when a brand new convention created WIPO, which officially kicked off in 1970. And here's a little fun fact for you. Before it was the nice, simple WIPO, it went by the acronym BRP. Yeah, BRP, which stood for the United International Bureaus for the Protection of Intellectual Property. Go ahead, try saying that 5 times fast. So along with getting a much catchier name, it also moved its headquarters from Bern to Geneva, putting it right in the middle of all the international action. And this was the final crucial piece of the puzzle. The member countries wanted to give this organization some real power, so they made WIPO a specialized agency of the United Nations. This put it on the same level as other major global bodies and pretty much cemented it as the world's go-to place for intellectual property. Okay, so that's the backstory. But what does WIPO actually do today? Let's talk about its mission and what it's trying to achieve right now. When you boil it all down, it comes to this one simple, powerful idea: to promote and protect intellectual property. Everywhere. That's it. It sounds straightforward, right? But making that happen on a global scale is, well, incredibly complicated. And this is how they do it. A big part of the job is harmonizing laws, trying to get the rules to be more consistent from one country to the next. They also provide real practical services, like a one-stop shop for filing international patents. And, so importantly, they offer legal and technical help, especially to developing nations, to make sure everyone can actually use and benefit from the system. Okay, so we've got the history and the mission. Now let's pop the hood and look at the engine. How does this huge organization actually work day to day to make all this happen? You can really think about WIPO's work in 4 main buckets. First, they're the norm setters. This is where they create the international treaties that become the global rules of the road. Second, they provide global services. That's the practical stuff, like helping innovators file patents across borders. Third, they focus on development, actively helping countries build their own IP systems from the ground up. And finally, they act like a giant global library, gathering and sharing information and research on everything IP. Of course, an organization this important needs a clear structure to make decisions. So let's take a quick look at who's actually running the show over there. This chart breaks it down really nicely. The easiest way to think about it is this. The General Assembly is like the main board of directors, where the big picture decisions get made by member countries. The conference is a wider group that talks about general issues and decides how much to spend on helping other countries. The Coordination Committee handles all the day-to-day administrative stuff. And then you have the International Bureau. That's the Secretariat, the engine room, run by the Director General and staff who make it all happen. But WIPO's work is not just about treaties and high-level meetings. No way. It has a real, direct impact on people, and this is where its mission truly comes alive. Just take a second to let this quote sink in. This is so important. WIPO gets that the system only works if you invest in people. It's not just about protecting giant corporations, it's about empowering individuals and growing economies to tap into the full potential of their own creativity. So how do they actually do that? Well, a huge part of the answer is this: the WIPO Worldwide Academy. This is their global training center, and it's designed to build up that human capital we were just talking about all across the planet. And the academy is super active. It runs this massive online distance learning program, so anyone with an internet connection can get access to IP education. It also creates custom training for specific countries or groups, and it provides really in-depth education for the government officials and policy advisors who are literally shaping the future of innovation back in their home countries. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here, right? From 19th century treaties all the way to modern online learning. So, after all that, what's the one big idea you should walk away with? It's this. WIPO is so much more than just another UN bureaucracy. It's the essential global framework. It's the connective tissue that allows an inventor in one country, an artist in another, or a startup somewhere else entirely to have their creation recognized and protected across the whole world. It's what connects the dots for global innovation. So next time you see this number, 1967, don't just see a date, see the moment the world came together and agreed that our shared future depends on protecting the ideas that build it. The next time you see a global brand, use a new app, or hear a song from another country, you'll know a little bit more about the invisible global system that helps make it all possible.